Good morning. I would like to call the Operations Committee meeting to order. Is there any pecuniary interest?
None known, sir.
I have none. We have no delegations. Prior meetings minutes were approved at the last council meeting. We have our task list.
Yes, which is basically, now there's been stuff added since this list was circulated. It's basically all things that came out of the budget meeting.
Yeah.
So there are a few things that we've updated on there, but there'll be lots of follow-up in future meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So we don't need to discuss any of those. Do you have any questions on that?
No, there's one item here that I'm glad to see it's here because, yeah, it's fine.
Moving on to health and safety. It's one item on there. I don't remember if it was that Public Works, so we'll wait till we get to that one.
The arena looks fine, yeah.
Yeah, the arena ones look good. We can receive and file those. And then in the Public Works, I think it was one of the first items on there.
The minutes were posted.
Yeah, I assume that's been corrected.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Move to receive and file that as well.
Yeah.
And we will move to the arena monthly report. Welcome, Derek. Move this up to go through that.
Morning.
Morning, Derek.
Arena monthly report for March. Century Fire Protection Services has been confirmed with their new provider, fire and life safety inspections, maintenance and repairs to our sprinkler system. They will be taking over from Classic Fire and Life Safety. The first inspection of the sprinkler system has been booked for April 30th. Century Fire has also indicated that they'll be purchasing a ring board advertisement in the near future. I just want to say thank you to Derek and Corey for taking some blades from the Olympia to Elmira to get sharpened. We were a little desperate. We had a request to host a car boot sale at the arena utilizing the parking lot and arena floor. Multiple dates were requested in proposals. More information will be needed. The request was forwarded to Burn. On March 16th, Point Over Minor hosted their annual U7 Battle Under the Bridges Hockey Jamboree, utilizing both the arena and community hall. The event was remarkably busy with 24 teams participating. Overall, the event was a tremendous success, and planning has already begun for next year's event. Blue Water Fabricating was in on March 17th to measure for an accessibility ramp at the Olympia gates entering the rink floor. This was a request from the organizers of the Age Friendly Expo. The plan is to have a ramp built to allow them to use the Olympia room as the main entrance to the event. The ramp would be paid for by the committee and donated back to the arena for future use. Blue Water Fabricating also picked up ice melting pit cover plates for repair and measured for new grading over the header pipe at the Olympia gate archives. Received updated schedule requests from Sarnia Minor Ball Hockey. They'll be utilizing Mondays and Saturdays for a 10-week period. There have been lots of updates to the summer floor schedule for all our user groups. The summer schedule has been a process to say the least. Blue Water Plumbing in on March 24th to repair a leaking shower valve in dressing room 5 and to look at the urinal in the main washroom not functioning properly. 2 issues were found. The main drain needed to be snaked and the automatic flush valve was not functioning. The automatic flush valve was not repaired due to cost, as we were looking at replacing the whole unit with the waterless system. Ice requests for next season have already started rolling in. We have tentatively booked a new daytime client for Thursdays and Mondays now. This will result in us moving the preschool skate to another time slot. On the evening of March 27th, we had an incident at the arena involving a wanted individual and the Waterloo Regional Police. The individual was apprehended without incident, and there was no impact on operations at the arena. 28th was budget day. Thank you, Mayor Hand and Village Council for endorsing all arena capital project requests. Windward Optimus Club has informed me that they will not be proceeding with the ATM at the arena at this time. It was originally scheduled to be installed on March 31st. They will revisit the idea in the fall. Request from Elections Canada to utilize the arena snack bar area as an advanced polling station, April 18th, 21st. The request was granted. Elections Canada will be utilizing the arena on those dates, updated times from 8 AM till 10 PM. Village staff will cover the shifts and there will be no cost to the village. Jim Burrow may have more information. Work management, we have the 3 full-time employees, well, actually 2, one was off, so mid-April, with one seasonal employee, and we had skate patrol on Sunday. Employee training, all employees completed hand safety and asbestos awareness training online. Facility activity, we on prime time, we were 89% booked for March and 78% for non-prime time. Factors affecting the percentages would be many leagues concluding their seasons in mid to late March. Whenever Minor concluded most of their playoffs in late March, and March break was busy with extra runs. Interior, regular maintenance cleaning, continue daily. 2 light fixtures over the ice need to be replaced. They have been replaced. Exterior general maintenance around the building, obviously. 3 light fixtures outside the arena will need repair and or replacement. Jim Roberts Power Control has been contacted. Community hall, Planner Optimus continue to operate community hall and is updated quote for 30 tables with some years before budget table. Red and Co still in the snack bar and they will be there during the summer as well. I've just found out. Request for a new exterior door at the entrance to the snack bar approved at budget. All our monthly inspections were completed and as previously mentioned, the sprinkler system will be inspected on April 30th. In venue advertising, we've had the inquiry from Century Fire for advertising. Contact information has been forwarded to Century Fire. Vehicles and equipment on the report. Customer satisfaction, lots of positive compliments and thank yous from user groups as the winter season winds down. Twin Edward Minor Athletic Association Liz Page was incredibly grateful for all the help they received during the U7 release. Health and safety, monthly SOP reviews as assigned by health and safety coordinator were completed. Security, nothing to report this month. Capital and operating budget, the budget meeting, capital budgets have been set for 2025. Closing comments. March with another busy month at the arena. Twin Edward Minor Hockey hosted another successful U7 Jamboree. All Blackhawk teams concluded their playoffs in late March. Most men's leagues and women's leagues concluded their season and playoffs in late March. 2 hockey leagues will continue into April, finishing on April 2nd. Twin Edward Skating Club began carnival rehearsals in mid-March in anticipation of their annual event, Ice Reflections, Heroes and Villains on April 5th and 6th. On the maintenance side, we had a few minor repairs completed and have started filing a list of some remaining stuff. Looking ahead to an eventful April at the arena, our final ice carnival will be Thursday, April 3rd. Twin Edward Skating Club will take over the arena for their annual skating carnival with setup and final rehearsals scheduled for Friday, April 5th, and 3 shows scheduled for the weekend. 2 shows on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. The compressors will be shut down on Sunday, April 6th after the final show. The ice will be removed 2 days later, which is today. On Wednesday, April 9th, we will welcome back the Point Edward Junior B lacrosse team for another season. Their home opener is scheduled for Saturday, April 26th versus London. We look forward to working with the Pacers once again. We are also scheduled to host the 10th annual Sarnia Pop Culture Show on Sunday, April 13th. Sure to be an exciting event. Many of our regular summer user groups are scheduled to start the Monday after the show, April 14th, with Sarnia Minor Ball Hockey starting the week after. Elections Canada are then scheduled for the advanced polls from April 18th to 21st. Planning will continue for the Age Friendly Expo as well, which is scheduled for early May. On the work management side, arena employees will start to transition over to Public Works later in the month and rotate between the arena and Public Works on a weekly basis till the end of August. We are looking forward to the summer season and hopefully some time off. If you have any questions or concerns, we're glad to assist.
Do you have anything?
I have 2 questions. The change in fire protection, is that just a review of the contract or what do we do?
We decided to go with local. In the past, when we've had a situation or an emergency repair, we're waiting for the company from London to come. And we've actually used Century Fire and they were a little bit cheaper.
Good. All good things. The ATM in the snack bar, I'd heard some rumblings that it was being proposed or coming. I don't understand why we would be putting an ATM in the arena for a couple of reasons. One, I don't see a need for cash in the building. The snack bar operates with tap and square or whatever it is. We have no vending machines that require cash. I think it creates a bit of a liability or a theft risk, like we hear about ATMs being stolen and that type of thing. And they have the liability part of it. And then it eats up wall space and that. So I don't know why we were moving forward with that. I don't know whether Jim can answer that or Derek or.
Yeah, the Optimist Club came to us with a request to put it in and just didn't see any concern with it. So I gave them approval to put it in. I don't
Yeah.
know what their reasoning, probably because it's quieter over the summer. Is that why they're not?
I spoke to Rob about it. He wasn't aware that Redco had tap. And when I started explaining that. And then I was saying how some of our user groups, we do get a little bit of cash, but most people are now starting to pay e-transfer. Like, I didn't talk him out of it. I just said the summer, it's not like the winter for traffic. And then he thought that the new one at the Optimist by the bar is installed.
Oh, there's a second one?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
think they took the one out in the front entrance and put it right by the bar.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, I mean. Yeah, I don't know if they'll. Come and revisit it again in the fall. They say they will, but again. I don't see they.
If they come back, I'd like to see us maybe do a little bit of an assessment on, is it truly needed and is it like, because wherever we install, it's going to be permanent. So if we ever go back to vending, like we put it in this, I don't know where you were proposing putting it, but if it's in the snack bar area in the middle of that, between the two bathrooms, if we ever go back to vending machines, it really messes up that wall space and I just don't see the need
Yeah,
for
it
it.
wasn't much of the installation. I know that it was Ethernet cable and power.
Yeah.
That's all you need. And it was gonna be 2 legs to hold it to the wall.
Oh, okay.
As further to what Derek said, there has been we've been reviewing with the treasurer to make sure that the purchasing of ice, we can go to a tap model instead of having a lot of cash that you've had to deal with in the past and receipts. So that's something else that we're going to institute within this next year to go more cashless.
I just can't imagine an ice user either
It's
coming to the arena to pay for their ice and then going over to the ATM to get it. They would,
Most people are collecting in the dressing room.
right, yeah, yeah.
After.
Yeah, or stopping at their own ATM on the way to the arena. So I just didn't see the value in it or the need, or not the value, the need for it. Yeah. So that's all.
I just have a couple of positive highlights that I heard as we went along. Olympia blade sharpening. I assume that Corey and Derek were from Public Works.
Yep.
So that's a good thing that they're lending you guys a hand and working
Oh, they've been
together.
great.
I like
They're there today too. So, I mean,
highlight the positives of that and the fact that our Olympia is a Canadian made product and we can get it serviced without too much difficulty. That's another positive thing. I volunteered at the Jamboree as a front door greeter. And it was nice to hear again. I know I say this all the time, but how great our arena is, especially the people who came back after playing their game and saying it was their first time there because it was very young families. And how nice our arena, how cool it was laid out and all, positive comments that came from just kind of sitting at that front door for a few hours that morning. So again, that's a compliment to our staff at the arena, keeping it like that and keeping everything moving and lots of good positive comments. Has Century Fire moved on the rink board yet? I know,
it's in discussion.
It's in process right
The last week we've been discussing.
I know they probably would want to be in before lacrosse season starts.
That's the request.
Yeah, okay, I was just curious about that. Okay, thank you for your report.
No problem.
So you can file that.
Yep. So
And Public Works wants a report.
Thank you. So this is the Public Works report for month ending Thursday, the 8th. Recognition of receiving the Public Works report. No updates from the previous month. Work management, we had 4 Public Works employees for the entire month. No additional training that was identified within our within Public Works area that happened this month. Operations building, nothing in the interior. Exterior, we still have multiple salt deliveries as we did have a month where there was some colder weather as well as snow maintenance activities. Public Works is at the end of last month, it has transitioned into a lot of the spring cleanup as snow has been melting. They've noticed that there's been some more maintenance activities that has to be required. And so they've been really looking at that as well as supporting a lot of the spring and summer activities that we need to move into as April moves on. And when it comes down to road sidewalks and parking lots, that's all monthly reports have been completed. We did have some high snow and ice occurrences during the month, multiple potholes as there have been some heaving with the temperatures going up and down have shown where they are. So we've done some heavy repairs over the month. Removal of the no parking signs through the village has started during the spring startup. Downtown banners were changed from the winter motif to more of the spring motif. Village-wide survey with subsequent sign maintenance has begun. So the idea is to go around and make sure that all the signs are in good condition as the condition assessment will further. And this is something that will continue to happen as this spring and summer come along. Multiple light patrols have also happened. They've identified some issues and have them repaired as necessary. Parks, lots of spring cleanup. We have a lot more pedestrian traffic right now. Near the end of last month, the weather was very good, so that was something that the team has been down really working at to make sure the beautification of our parks are where they need to be. Installation of information board, which was donated by the county and built by Lambton College, has been installed on the north pad, very close to the playground area. This will be able to house all types of information, not only trails, but different information and activities that are going to happen within the village and specifically representative down in that park area. So the guys did a great job. I hope everybody gets a chance to go down and take a look at it. We're going to continue. There's a little bit of activity that still needs to be done on the back side of the board. And we've talked about how to support that, but it's a quite a nice feature.
So I saw that the other day. I didn't know what it was, so it's good.
Yeah.
So who's going to manage the posting and removal of outdated messages?
The idea is that there's going to be more longer term events. It's not going to be kind of the short term thing. It's really more of an information board. It's if we have something that we have an event list for the entire summer, it's going to be out there. In Public Works, we'll be able to manage that. We're just trying to find the best way to remove the outer plexiglass every single time without damaging the board. We have an idea on how to do that, but it truly is information. The idea is that the information sits there and it's very standardized across almost the entire year. So it's not for that short-term detail, it's more for the long term. So the flower planters have been reinstalled down in the pergola, down in Waterfront Park. It's really good. That's done a really good job with that. And then the multiple days of yard cleanup. We started the collections. I've started hauling garbage, but the other collections. Yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question while we're on it? The fire pit at the pergola, what's that?
That was, if you look at it, they're around probably about 4 feet round, about 2 feet high. They look like fire pits, so that's what was identified and described in the description of it. You could use it as that. We use it as a flower.
Oh, okay.
That's
So they're not fire pits.
They are not fire pits.
Okay.
So there's no liabilities or
Okay.
anything along those lines, but thank you, that's a good question. Inspections, audits and reports, monthly fire inspections have been completed, all the vehicle inspections have been completed. And as we continue to do this, I'm looking at further electronic avenues to make sure that we're putting them in motion, having a good representation that way. Vehicles of fire, the garbage truck have taken over to Carrier for its annual maintenance. Upon that, it was identified that the tires were at end of life, so they were replaced upon inspection. And the plow was taken out of service as it normally has been. It's the blades have been taken off and is ready for summer activities. Other motorized vehicles, all lawn equipment is ready to go. It's all been set up. It is ready for cutting on. And again, I really appreciate the Public Works guys working so closely with the arena staff to be able to support them. That's building that large team is so important. I'm really happy everyone's working really well together. Health and safety, nothing to report. Security, and nothing to really report this month. Capital budgeting. So from our capital budgeting, it was approved eight arena projects, 6 park projects, parks projects, and then 9 public works projects. So all of those projects have been identified, they've all teams been spoken to, and they're all in progress right now. We're all starting to work away at those. Community feedback, nothing I've heard, which sometimes is a good thing. And then looking forward, or looking ahead, barrels are out and they'll continue to look at all locations. There will be condition assessments of some of the barrels as we go through, including Waterfront Park. We're starting to increase that as there is higher pedestrian traffic. Compost start, expectations to see some real high volume, especially as the weather starts to transition into a nicer area. Public Works.
Do you know something we don't know?
Sorry, not today.
Okay.
Not today. Public staff the public works staff and myself are interviewing summer students, and the start date will be May 5th for the summer students. April is, like I said, long-term forecast looks like the end of winter, we're coming into spring activities, which is exciting. Public Works has lots of activities in terms like removing a lot of snow fence, playground checks, park cleaning. Activities are starting to shift and all the capital is taking place. So excited about that. The waterfront washrooms in the Cray will start to be winterized and they'll be available for May 5th. The St. Clair project is going to begin next week. So we work with Culp, we work with Dobbin as the engineer. They both completed we're going to be completing the Michigan intersection on the reconstruction work and starting work down in St. Clair, as well as looking at the other projects that come forward. So there's gonna be lots of communication coming forward for that. Any questions?
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
St. Clair Street project.
Yes, sir.
So the county has, during COVID, the county bought those big programmable signs that allow you to put up any message you want. And they have always said that if anybody needs to borrow them, they can. And I'm just inquiring to see, should we look at bringing one or two of those into the village now, program them up, just advising people that construction will be happening on Michigan and St. Clair Street. Please drive safely, or be cautious, plan a new route. I don't know, there's all kinds of messages that could go up on this, but I thought if we threw one on Michigan by the Canatera Park as people are coming into the village, maybe put another one over on St. Clair over by the end of phase 1. So as we're up by Marson Bowl, even in their lot, just alerting people that, because what's going to happen is going to be a lot of construction, right? We're doing Michigan and St. Clair, and it's going to be for a long period of time. So I know the county told us before, John, if you remember when they said, if anybody needs these, they're out at the county. Now, Warwick may have it somewhere already, but I mean, make the inquiry and at least put them in place if they're available. It's another way to let people know that expect delays, expect detours, that type of thing. So I'll leave with you guys to look at. The other one with regard to St. Clair is we're changing St. Clair and Alexander to a 4-way stop as part of the construction. Should we not have a sign like announcing, like in the past when we changed the ones around the school, we put a sign below the stop sign saying this will be converted to a 4-way stop.
Is St. Clair and Alexandra?
I thought that was,
Yes.
yes.
It's not now,
Okay. It's
but it's going to be.
So
And there's usually signage that has to go up for that.
there's a certain date.
Yes.
That all that has to do.
So my thought is we're going to destroy that whole area and rebuild it. It seems to me it would make sense that when it's rebuilt as a 4-way stop, right? So that we don't do all the reconstruction and then 6 weeks later make it a 4-way stop. I'm thinking when people have stopped using it during construction, then when it comes back to life, it's a 4-way stop. So I'm thinking we should probably have signage up there now saying, even without a date, like just say, this intersection will be converted to a 4-way stop.
I don't think that's appropriate when there's going to be construction there for months.
Yeah, but don't we have to have signage up there for a period of
So you
time?
put the signage up when, like, I think you put the signage up when you put,
You have to give
like-
people the advance warning.
right, but to put the signage up while there's construction going on doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't,
Mhm.
there's not gonna be any traffic there even.
Right. Well, there will be. Like people will still drive through like they did on Light Street, right?
We can talk to the construction company and see what they recommend, and even the engineer, but.
Yeah. But I just think it's important too that the change happen when the road, that section reopens,
Mhm.
right? That we don't reopen it and then 6 weeks later, put the four-way stop, it just makes sense that it's part of the,
We can certainly discuss,
Okay.
it. Like I said, we'll discuss it with the engineer and the construction company. But
and then my other one. So this one goes back to the community hall, the arena.
Mhm.
So during COVID, when we ran the clinic out of there, the Carpenters Union built that little structure that's at the exit door. It's getting old and tired. It was intended as a temporary measure to help, because they were using that as an exit. It never looked like it belonged there, right? It looks like somebody's garden shed, but I've noticed there's a couple groups that use the hall and use that door as an entrance and prop the doors open for their entire event. And the one event was in February, tons of slush and brought in. The floor was like a small, huge puddle, slip and fall accident, because there's no mats there, right? It's not intended as an entrance, but that structure creates that impression that it's an entrance. And when doors are propped open like that, it just wreaks havoc on our HVAC system, as you can imagine, from balancing and all that. So I'm wondering, is it time to take that thing down? And put some signage on the doors to say emergency exit only, so that it returns to that purpose, because it's okay for loading and offloading. I don't know how Derek feels about this. I know the hall's not really your responsibility, but
No, I know they like it, but that's.
Yeah.
It cuts down on when the doors are open, it cuts down on wind going through there, but. And it is used as, when there's an event, that's the setup door.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's fine.
I agree
Like,
with that.
that's fine to bring in equipment in that, but then it should be shut and the proper doors should be used where we have mats, where we have, proper like air for the airflow and all stuff. Because the event in February, the floor was just like, and if somebody falls and slips in there, then we're liable. And so I think it's time for it to go. It's served its purpose.
as staff, we can review it, definitely. Look to see what the best option is to move forward, for sure.
Okay, and then my last question was. So I saw on the task list, the memorial bench refurbishment. So I was expecting something honestly at the budget meeting, because we raised that in October, but do you know when we'll get something to council about a plan?
So as Jim had mentioned earlier, the e-tasks, there is a report I did write inside of that. So I've started looking with two different companies to large purchase material, and then come up with an actual plan after an assessment has been done in terms of the number of benches that are required to be able to do it, and how we can utilize the material in the best fashion to make sure that we're doing a row of benches at the same time to have uniformity as we come through that. So there is a plan already in place. I've already Gantt charted a number of things out. And excuse me, when the students start, condition assessments of all the benches will be done at that point, and then we'll be looking to identify what's forward. So throughout the summertime, that's when we're going to start to look at that.
So can we get a report on that? Because that was the request in October, was that a report come to council on how we refurbish these benches.
I can certainly put some documentation.
We don't have access to e-task. That's the only reason I'm asking.
Okay, yeah, no, I can put some documentation.
Okay.
Certainly.
Okay, just to show like how many benches we have, with their condition assessment, as you said, the students are going to do, and then prioritize certain either sections or areas, and then
Absolutely, I can provide that.
and then hopefully then we can move that forward to our next budget cycle and get the proper 5-year budget commitment. So that they move
That's the
forward.
plan.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
perfect, thank you.
That's all, Chairman.
I just had one question. I remember seeing a report somewhere about county roads in the village and through the whole county.
Mhm.
How they were going to, over 5 years, work on some of the roads. And I thought Michigan Ave between Front Street and Christina was on there, but I couldn't remember what year the county was talking about refinishing that part. And I just came to my mind thinking about if we have St. Clair and Michigan blocked off and then coming into the village, is that on the horizon soon?
I don't believe it's this year.
No, I don't know if it
They're
was
doing
26
Michigan.
pops into my head.
But they're doing Colburn to Indian this year.
Yeah, But I just know that stretch of Michigan Ave between Front Street and Christina is really rough. We did a bunch of crack sealing there and put a lot of work into it. And I thought it might be on that horizon soon. But for some reason, now that I think about it, I thought it said 26.
We can follow up and
Should
ask them.
That was the only question I had. Thank you for the report.
Yes, thank you. Yep, so move.
And while you're there, move into speed tracking device information.
Well, the other thing I was gonna say, I'm happy to see too that you're moving rapidly on the capital items, because I think every department should be doing that with who knows what tariffs are gonna do to us or supply chain mess up. So the faster we can buy stuff, the better, right? Because we were late even approving it, so thanks for forging ahead on those.
Yes, thank you. The other managers and I have been discussing this, just the best way to, even if there's bulk purchases, what are we going to do to ease procurement?
Yeah.
Yes. So this, moving on to this, thank you. It's the speed camera report, the analysis from March of the overall, and then the dashboard of what we've done. Again, 3 cameras, Michigan Front and Venetian. As the description, we do a full analysis of all 3, do the monthly analysis and the trends to find out what's exactly happening, and then we put it into the dashboard to give us a larger scale, global perspective of what's happening. It's broken down into your average speeds, your maximum speeds, and then your total speeds for the month, as well as the total number of traffic and the distribution patterns according to the hours that are there. So moving on to Front Street, the data is, I look at it from an outbound with outgoing, which is a southbound speeds. When we look at initially, and then northbound speeds tend to be quite a bit slower. So with that, the distribution, the way it looks this month is 64% of the traffic inbound conforms to the speed, with 4% that has excessive speeds. And the excessive speeds is anything that's considered 60 kilometers more, 10 over the posted speed limits. These trends are both higher than the average, and then the previous month. We can start to see that there's a correlation where we are getting higher traffic loads and we are getting higher speeds. That does track from last year. And the nice thing about Front Street is this is 1 year of analyzed data. So we have March of last year, we have March of this year. So it's interesting to see how that has changed. And you can see that in the distribution that's on the actual the charts that I've created. Conversely, 46% of the outbound traffic conforms to the speed. And again, this is kind of a standardization. Like anything 40 to 50% of the outbound actually goes the posted speed limits, where 8.5% are excess speeds. These numbers again show significant increase in speed from the previous month as the weather starts to change. Again, this trend is what we saw last year as well. In average data, or the average traffic is increasing. So you're like 3,500 vehicles per day in that area, with 46% of them heading south. So again, as the speeds quicker heading south, more traffic heading south down that way. And again, this trend is shown from last year as well. Moving to Michigan.
When did you flip the tracker around?
You'd spoken to us in the last meeting, asking us, it was done on April 1st. So,
Okay.
so I had collected the data. I'd asked our public works guys at 10 o'clock. They flipped it around to again, as the test to see if that visual representation will be able. So we'll be able to see next month. We'll have a good understanding of whether that actually helped slow down speeds.
Yeah, I was surprised I saw that. And so my thought was always, we want to slow people down coming in the village. More so than them leaving, because once they leave, they're in Sarnia and do what you will, right? But the intent of putting it the first way, but it'll be neat to see if it does have an impact on people leaving the village.
That is
My train of thought was, do we need to add another sign so that it has that visual representation of people going, ooh, I'm going a little too fast?
Yeah.
Just if it would support that.
Yeah, yeah. And I said, my always concern was as they're coming in, get them to slow down and respect our village, but.
And that is the nice thing about those signs. It does have the capability there. The way they're mounted, we can just be able to swing them on any one of the streets that we have them. So that's.
And the other positive with it is, if you have a sign in your face too long, you start ignoring the sign. So by turning it, first of all, everybody's, oh, look, the sign moved. So they start seeing it. when you're driving in all the time and you see it, you just start ignoring it because it's there all the time. But at least by moving it like that, it creates that like change in your visual perspective. So
Yes, as suggested, it was a good opportunity
Yeah.
for us to do it, and so next, like I say, next month, I'll be interested to see what the
Yeah.
data.
Yeah,
As we
yeah.
do have a year over data to be able
Yeah.
to compare to, so.
Yeah.
Moving on to Michigan, the average speeds again, we look at eastbound speeds, so it's leaving the village again. The eastbound speeds and volumes are significantly higher than the westbound speeds. Like, this has been a pretty standard as people leave the village, the speeds tend to increase. As we're looking at 72% of the 72.9% of this outbound speeds, or sorry, inbound conforms with the traffic, and that's 2% exceeding. So this falls very closely to what we've seen in terms of trended numbers. They are higher than the previous month, but they correlate with the data. And we've have over a year's worth of data now. And then conversely, 65% of the outbound speeds with 4.3% of the traffic exceed and leave the village along quicker. It's a kind of a standard thing that we've looked at. Now, the traffic, we're getting close to 6,000 vehicles per day, which is interesting because that is a little bit higher. So you can start to see there is more traffic coming down that space, which is excellent. In 49% of the traffic actually comes out. So a lot of traffic coming into it, which is great. It's terrific. And we just, if we continue to observe the speeds, make sure there isn't anything excess. I will hopefully find the data and be able to support that. Finally, moved to Venetian, the average traffic speeds, again, looking at outbound, which is eastbound, they're slightly higher than the inbound speeds. Traffic distribution, when you're looking at it, 71% of the traffic conforms to 50% or slower and 2% exceed. And this data has shown that there is a little bit higher speed as the weather's gotten nicer. Again, this is right across the board with all of our cameras that we've seen, but Venetian has the least traffic volume and least traffic speed issues that we have. Conversely, 69% of the outbound traffic with 2.7% exceeding speeds. And again, 3,500 vehicles, and so we're seeing some good traffic, but it's again, it falls within the data that we're looking at. And again, the graphs are all there to be able to visually support that.
Awesome. Any questions?
yeah, I have a couple. I said no last the last committee. So you share this with the county and the OPP, these reports, or just the OPP?
If we find that there's some excessive traffic that is in one specific area, like Front Street, that has been shared with the OPP in the past, if there are some trends that I'm finding that are really out of whack, then I'll speak to Jim and we'll share it with you accordingly.
Should we send it to the county as a courtesy since it's their roads, right?
I will happily send it to them.
Should we just
if
add-
they feel value in it.
Yeah, I mean,
You could send it to him and say, do
Yeah.
you want to get this every month or do you not? And then he can make the call on that. But I think
think
since it's their road and if they're looking at redesign or like that, they might. Yeah, so, okay. And then I am surprised at the numbers of, the low number of cars doing 60 kilometers or higher, because as we all know, the number of residents think that there's a lot of speeding. How much of this car, like the compliance, do you think relates to people turning? So the Front Street measurement, we got a whole bunch of people turning up Hauser, Ben Garvey, all the different streets. Same with Michigan. A lot of people are slowing down because they're going to turn up Albert to go into the Canatare Park. There's no way to take those out of the equation, is there?
It'd be speculation on my part.
Yeah.
To do that. I don't, there's no data that would be able to be from what the piece of equipment we have. to
Yeah.
Be able to support that one way or another. We would have to find another piece of, another device of some type that along that road to find out how much
Yeah.
actual transit happened in that space.
Or a much more expensive device to. No, it's very interesting, and like data tells a story, which is good. So when we do get questioned on speed, we have numbers we can provide. So it's great. It's a great tool, and I like the way you're managing it with the written report. It helps. So. Okay, that's all I have.
We receive and file report.
Yeah,
Is there any other new business?
one just popped in my head and then it's gone just as fast. So no.
I have an item I'd like to just get moving a bit, is the sports fields rentals. We talked about it briefly on budget day
Mhm.
as a source of revenue. Could we start with some kind of a report about the feasibility of it, drawbacks, whatever. Have we started on that at all?
As part of the task list, that was one of the tasks that came out. I
Mhm.
did write in that I have started to contact local area, some of our municipalities that actually have sports fields that have fees. So thank you for sending me the details.
Yeah.
That you did. It's gathering data at this point.
Yeah.
To see what would be feasible, what type of diamonds or what type of sports equipment that they have, to see if there's some comparables that we can look at.
Yeah.
I think the idea that I've looked at the report would be to gather as much of that data as possible to see what we could potentially look at in terms of a fee structure. And then whatever potential updates we might need to make to the field to support the fee structure that we'd be looking at doing. So I have started that. I, at this point, don't have a timeline on what that looks like, but I will certainly get, as soon as I can get a viable report, I will pass that forward to the committee.
Yeah, and it's not feasible for this year because everybody's done registrations. and everything. I wouldn't-
It's already. booked,
But
yes.
just going into next season, next budget, to possibly have that as a possibility and again, looking at it from the staff perspective too, to see, what issues might come up with that, just, forcing it or whatever, but every other, and again, the reason I sent you guys Warwick is
Mhm.
because it's a similar size community and I know their facilities pretty well and how they manage them. So it was, I thought it was a good comparable for us.
Thank you. Yes, and I do appreciate that. I've reached out to Wyoming I have played ball and I coach ball on those diamonds, and from understanding what they do and how they manage those fields. And then even some of the capabilities, talking to our public works as they've had years of experience operating that diamond. Just to be able to create some functions so that you can not only play different levels of ball and being able to move the bases and drag. And so I've started a lot of those discussions to see what we'll be capable of.
Okay, great, thank you. Did your item pop into your head?
No, but I did come up with a new one,
Oh.
if I may. The arena and the life of the arena. There's been talk around this circle about the future of our arena. Do we try and build a new one? Do we do whatever? I think we have to, my personal opinion is, I don't think we'll ever be able to build a new one just based on land, space, and cost. So should we be working on a asset management plan on how we can make sure that this arena of ours lasts longer than we last as people? Like I look at Galt Arena down in Cambridge, and you've probably been in it before. Longest arena, I think it's over 100 years old,
Mhm.
well maintained, and was that? So is there a way that we can come up with a plan? It doesn't be like anytime soon, but how do we sustain and keep that place as in the pristine condition it's at?
Of this last month, I was on two asset management programming calls on how to be able to take the data that we have for asset management, modify it and give us different details that come with that. Between that, our annual report, the reports that we're doing in terms of the engineering to help support and maintain the facility itself. As well, in October, I am looking to go to an aging infrastructure conference in Toronto, which specifically talks about arenas of this age group. And how to
Perfect.
be able to support that sort of thing. It's a long discussion. I think there's quite a bit that needs to be understood of what's happening. I will say, being in the 200 arenas I've probably been in the last couple of years, that our arena is extremely well maintained.
Yes.
It is in a very, very good structural capability. But again, it's as you mentioned, it is important for an asset of not only that value, but the difficulty in terms of replacement to really focus on that. And as part of the tasks as well, that was one of the ideas that came up, and I wrote very similar details that I'm speaking to you right now about it.
Because I was talking to where's Mayor Ferguson from?
Alvinston.
So Alvinston is going through this with their arena,
Yes.
needing a new floor and the cost. And their big debate is we're a community of 2,300, which resonates with me. And they're having a hard time justifying the expense to replace the floor. What do we do? And I would hate to see us get to a point where the building gets to the shape it has to be replaced, because then will be challenged. So I'm just saying, let's just make sure that and it sounds like you're right on top of it all, which I should have known and appreciate, but how we can make our arena like last.
Yeah, the Alvinstons, sadly, there was some, I'm not saying they had anything to do with maintenance, because I don't believe that to be the case. They just had sadly a critical failure in terms of the flooring, and they were able to operationalize it this year, but I do know that that is a challenge, and it's something that we take very seriously.
Yes.
We're trying, that's why when we looked in during the capital budgeting to say that understanding a floor replacement will be X number of dollars as it stands in terms of current replacement value, that we need to be identified.
Yeah.
And understand that end of life, even in the best maintained assets, will occur
Yeah.
at some point, so.
And keeping in mind that the floor is one part of that asset. So no sense putting in a new floor if we have a roof that is not viable, right? So it's like the whole,
And that's the asset management, that's
Yeah.
where the details that are in the system have been identified and previous to me coming on
Yeah.
board,
Yeah.
Eric and his team did a great job
Yeah.
at making sure that that's maintained.
yeah. And we know it's impeccably maintained. It's the stuff behind
Mhm.
the walls that Derek and his staff can't see, right? So they're maintaining everything that is in their power, but I mean, it's this infrastructure stuff that is really a
And-
challenge.
Those are the supporting reports that we get. That's
Yeah.
that's the fiber engineering report that comes in and gives us some really good detail on how to do that, and then we will operationalize the repairs and
Yeah.
find out what the best ways to maintain that is.
Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, I'm kind of watching this too. I know there was an article in the London Free Press about they called them the Wintario arenas.
Yeah,
When all the
that's
Wintario grants went out,
I remember that.
and in the 70s, all these arenas were built, and they're all very similar. We've been in them a lot.
Right.
And they're all 50 years old now, and saying all of these arenas are going to need upgrades. And I think that Graham Nesbitt was quoted in it, and he paints our ice, and he was a facilities manager in Seaforth for many years and has a lot of good insights. And they were really pushing towards more funding federally, provincially, to say, hey, like, if you want hockey to be our game or ice to be part of our culture, then some of these high levels of government have to put some money into it again, the way that funding was made available in the 70s. So I definitely wouldn't want it to come on the backs of the taxpayers. It would have to be heavily funded.
Yeah.
But just to see, and because I know I had brought it up a couple of times, the viability, the expense. And my kids played in Cambridge at that 100-year-old arena, and in Stratford and in Chatham and in Pat Stapleton. These great old barns are so fun to go into, but at some point they're going to reach their shelf life as well.
Right.
Just to explore it, you know, not to put a ton of energy
No,
or
it's
money
been-
into it, and
I agree.
hopefully provincially and federally, there will be more discussions where they're going to say, like, how do we want to say hockey's our game. Just the ability to skate as a Canadian is, you know, one of those things that we want to keep as part of our culture. Then maybe the higher levels of government want to put some money into it.
Totally agree.
Okay, I guess we can move down to financial statements now. I see some of those numbers have moved. This deputy mayor has already mentioned, it's nice to get those projects moving.
Yeah.
Is there anything on there that
Nothing that I can see.
move to receive and file
So
the
moved.
financials? And then our next meeting for the operations committee will be May 13th. Call for adjournment.
Adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.